going to start with a question from Rob Mahoney with The Ringer.
Hey, Coach. Thanks for doing this. When you have a playmaker like Marc Gasol at the 5, what does that open up for you in terms of making adjustments throughout the playoffs?
Well, I don't know. It's just a nice thing to have. I think it's always become a settling point for your offense when things aren't quite going right. You can always throw it to him and kind of start cutting, and maybe get an easy basket or two. There's certainly a lot of counters and plays you can run, etc. When they're trying to take certain things away by going through a good passer like that. That's about it, I think.
And you've talked previously about how just having him on the floor kind of opens up some of the passing, some of the flow for this group, even as soon as right after he joined the team last season. How is it that one guy can have that kind of impact?
Well, when you're a very good passer and you're a big that can shoot the 3, obviously it changes the dynamic of the spacing on the floor. Right, I think it opens up some driving lanes, and if not, then he's gonna, you can always. It's always a safety release point. If they're not up guarding him, he can shoot it. If they're not up guarding him because they're trying to plug the driving lanes, then he can facilitate into another quick action, a DHO, a dribble handoff, or a quick ball screen, and our guys should come off with some freedom to play in that space.
Thank you, Nick.
Mm-hmm. Going to go next to Josh Lewenberg from TSN.
Hey, Nick. How you doing?
Good, Josh. How are you?
Good, thanks. As much or more than any other team, you guys really tailored your defensive game plans around specific opponents each year, taking away what they do or their star players or whatever. It's something that you generally associate with teams doing in the playoffs more than in the regular season. Does your experience doing that as much as you guys did and the success that you had doing it help at all going into the playoffs when you have more time to do that now, just the comfort level that you guys have as a team doing that?
Well, I think, some of that is kind of organically grown, Josh, from last season's playoffs. I talked to you guys and you specifically a few times about how we had a lot more in our toolbox to start this season, right? Because of some of that playoff prep and different coverages that we hadn't quite got to, or we hadn't finished building our foundational part of our defense yet, so we weren't using some of it. So I guess it just kind of grew that way, Josh. And yeah, I mean, we're pretty comfortable with making changes. And I've always, again, give the players a lot of credit for this, is they can do it on the fly sometimes. They can certainly do it out of timeouts where we'll change a double team scheme or a rotation or something. And then sometimes they can even do it in the course of the game if we can get it communicated quickly to the 5 guys. So to give them a lot of credit for being smart enough and able to do that.
You go back a year ago and you start playoffs in Orlando, and here you are starting playoffs in Orlando a year later, or playing in Orlando a year later. How different for you does it feel, having won a championship, having been through your first year, to now start this again?
Well, I think there's just a slight difference, Steve. Not a great deal of difference. I think that, one thing I've said is the championship didn't seem and still doesn't seem like a huge burden to carry around that I thought maybe was going to. I don't know. Maybe it's just because nobody really expects much from us ever. You know what I mean? So, but that doesn't matter either. It's just that you get kind of focused in on playing a game, and you get your game plan together, and you kind of map out all your possible adjustments, and you get into it, and it's gonna take a lot of plot twists and turns, and it's exciting. This is what we love to do is play these games and get in this fast-paced chess match and make these adjustments and see what we can take away from them, and see how we can, counter what they're trying to take away from us and all that stuff. So it doesn't feel too much different, Steve. Even though the setting is drastically different, right? We'd be getting ready to play in front of 20,000 roaring Toronto fans tomorrow, and we're not going to. But I think that our level of interest is very high, and our prep was good, and I think it feels way more similar than I thought it was going to.
Do you feel personally in any way that you've been on a fast track? 1 year, one championship, part of a year, a Coach of the Year nomination, and here you are again with, one of the best records in the league. That's a lot to do in a very short time.
Just, Steve, we got good players, got a good team. Tried to prepare myself if I was ever given a chance at a job in this league, and really tried to get the most out of the team just each and every day, get up trying to figure out how to get them better and improve them individually and collectively, and a lot of wins have followed, and we've got some tremendous leaders, tremendous competitors, and some real toughness on this team.
All right, next question is going to Greg Logan from Newsday.
Nick, this is a very different Nets team from the one that you beat 3 out of 4 times during the regular season. How would you evaluate this team? And given the fact that LeVert is their go-to guy, do you just try to make the other guys beat you?
Well, first of all, they've played just outstanding here against some of the best teams in the NBA with a 5-3 record that could have easily been even better than that. Coach Vaughn's done a great job. The players are playing with a ton of energy and with a ton of confidence. They're cutting and moving hard. They're shooting the ball. They're playing fast paced. They're guarding. He's got everybody that hits the floor playing at or even above their potential. Again, the playoffs are different than regular season, and obviously it was a whole different team, as you mentioned. So we're just facing a whole new prospect here, and it's 0-0, and it's the first 1 to 4 wins, and right now it's really the first 1 to 1 win. So we're just trying to focus in on putting our best effort in and really guarding them and sharing the basketball and playing as good as we can play.
And what have you seen from LeVert so far?
Well, he's been great. He really can score the ball. I think his tempo and his patience have been amazing, and just his composure. He'll play the screen and roll just right, and wait and hesitate and find his little opening and rise up and score it. If people converge, he'll make the nice wraparound pass or the up high pass to the big rolling, mostly to Allen, who does a great job of screening and rolling. And then if he ISOs up top, he's got some real good. He's got more than one go-to move. He's got a couple go-to moves that he can again use his size and his length, and it's kind of the form of his shot. He puts it way up high above his head, so it's hard to, even when he's guarded tightly, he can still score them. So he's done great.
Thanks very much.
You're welcome.
Last 2 questions. Going to go first to Vivek Jacob from Complex Canada.
Hey, Nick. Hope you're well. You've said before that, Fred, OG, Norm, Pascal, they all took the off season and they came back better players. But does it seem to you like Fred, even over the course of this bubble, has come back even better?
Yeah, possibly. Although he was pretty darn good when he came back to start the year. I think he might have started the season with a 36-point game against New Orleans, something like that, 36, 38. I can't remember, but he was pretty good at the start when he came back. But he's a really good player. He's very similar to Kyle. toughness, shooting, defense, IQ, all kinds of stuff. So he's a good one, man.
And one thing Kyle has said before is that this season is about attacking another title, not defending the one from before. As far as the mentality is concerned, you've been here for a long time. What do you feel is different this year than maybe years before, where obviously you've had the same goal?
There's just a little bit more of historical, experience since you made it all the way through to the end. You understand that. I mean, if you really think back about how up and down all the series are, and there's emotion and there's this and that. And I mean, you maybe can handle some of the highs and lows even better. I thought we did a tremendous job of handling that last year. It was something we certainly knew we were going to have to handle and focused on. But that's it, and I love that thought of attacking one. It's like, it doesn't really matter that we won it last year. That's done and that's history. And what matters is when that ball goes up tomorrow.
Great. Thank you, Nick.
Yep.
And last question is going to go to Louis Zatzman from Raptors Republic.
Hey, Nick, just zooming out, from the outside perspective, when you were hired as head coach, it seemed like you were thought of as an offensive mind. In the last 2 years, well, your offense has been great. Your defense has really been what's revolutionized almost the NBA. I know it's different from us and for you, obviously, but how would you, relate those two facts? How did that happen?
Well, I think that, first of all, Louis, as you know, I coached a long time as a head coach,
Yeah.
right, at a lot of levels, and you have to coach everything, right? You're coaching training camps, practices, substitutions, timeouts, end of game, and certainly offense and defense. And I guess that the offensive revolution that was changing in the NBA, basically the more spread floor, the more threes, all that stuff. I was kind of in the middle of some of that with the Rio Grande Valley Vipers, Houston Rockets, things I'd already done in Europe. And that's really the only way I can explain it. I certainly, anybody that, you talk to Chris Finch, who coached against me a long time in England, who's with was most recently with the Pelicans and the Nuggets and the Rockets, would say, I coached against him a lot, and he was always a better defensive coach than he was an offensive coach. So I don't really know what else to say.
In your defense, pretty different from most other teams. Do you see other teams adopting some elements of what you do?
I think so. I think there's a lot more variety. You've seen a lot more variety now around the league. I'm not saying they're adopting what we're doing, but I think that there's people using a lot more zones, a lot more trapping, a lot more specialized coverages and things.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome, Louis.